Hey folks, this is Tully and welcome to some more game dev. Here again with the second stream today, looking at some split in the path cutscenes. What does that mean exactly? Well, there's a spot in chapter 1 where there's a split in the path. You can either go this way or this way, and there's cutscenes that I need to build at or around this section, so we're doing that. I feel like it's just cutscenes most of the way down at this point, and that's probably fine. In some regards, I feel like, I don't want to say I'm getting burnt out, but I feel like these cutscenes are not quite coming to, like, they're not reaching the same standard as the earlier ones. And I think I want more animations or more icon indicators or something to kind of make them hit a little bit better. But we're going to keep building them because having them set up is going to be better than trying, like, I think our best thing that we could be doing is still penciling in all this data, because just creating it all takes time. So we're going to keep doing that today. I will say up front, I am tired and I had some greasy food for dinner and I am sleepy. So we will see how long this stream goes, but I am going to keep streaming because I feel like I just get so much more done. And I say it a lot, but it still remains true. We're going to come up here and we're going to steal Adventurer 02, I think. We're going to bring that down here, and we're going to try having Adventurer 03, I believe, in this kind of secret hidden clearing. We're going to see how that goes. And we're going to give this Adventurer 3 container and Adventurer 3 as the entity ID. And we're going to set up some more cutscenes around this character. So the general gist is when you get to this branch point, I'm going to have the players either go north or south. And I want it to be somewhat ambiguous, although I'm sure there will be a right answer. But I want it to be ambiguous about which way you should go. And if you go north, you're going to run into these two adventurers, one of which is injured and the other one tending to that adventurer. And you're going to find out that the adventurer you met earlier in the chapter who's trapped by the boar has been run off during this boar attack, in which their encampment was attacked by several boars. And this adventurer is down and badly injured. We're going to eventually work our way south and run into this adventurer who has been sent to kind of get out of the forest and pick up some supplies or try and gather some materials. That's kind of the general idea. Now, if you go north first, you're going to run into these adventurers, and they're going to give you a bit of information about the adventurer who's south, who is going to be not willing to trust you, essentially. But when you gain access to the kind of code word or the phrase that makes this adventurer know you've met the other ones up in this direction, in the top of the map, that'll allow them to be more friendly. So if you go this way first, you'll be able to then interact with this adventurer more quickly. And then my other idea is that if you come down to here, then you'll get a power or an ability early on. So if you go north, you'll kind of get like a code word that allows you to interact with this adventurer down here. If you go down to the bottom of the map first, you'll get an item, but this adventurer won't want anything to do with you, basically. And then from there, we'll kind of get into the kind of quest that this adventurer will give you once you have their code name. Hydration from unlockables. I need to refill my water, so I guess we'll do that for 2 seconds. I will be right back. Okay, now, that all being said, let's get this adventurer set up. So we've got this adventurer spawning. I think this is going to be another copy of Hero for the time being. I think Trixie is actively working on the adventurer's or was actively working on the adventures today as well. I wonder, is this working? If I just do... Aha! We can kind of see where she left off. But she's currently working on this adventure and getting this one up and running, and been kind of tweaking and relearning some modeling technique stuff, which has been pretty good. So we will get some new characters in here relatively soon. But in the meantime, we will just use Hero as a stand-in. Okay, so... couple of things. I think I want a enemy in this room with this NPC. We'll do a big slime here. We'll have it be in this location, and moving back and forth between 3 points. We'll do move up to 9-7. Then going back down to 12-7, and then going over to 12-5. Perfect. And then I'm going to delete all these other spawns because we don't need them right now. And we're going to turn off this one just for testing, but I do want that there. Now, we need some cutscenes. What do we got? I've been re-looking at some of this dialogue. I feel like I'm not as happy with some of this. There's some very specific references in here that are maybe too niche, but I'm still going to build it as written, and we can always rewrite it later. So we're going to come into here. We're going to create a new cutscene for, what is this, K8, and this is going to be Greet Adventurer 003. This can have the default name. There we go, updated. This does not need anything because it'll be an interact, so it won't need a response type. And then for this one, we're just going to have Adventurer 003. Is that how we name these? We just built a cutscene for I4 earlier today. What was the dialogue we went with there? Yeah, so no container or anything, just the adventurer name. And then for dialogue, this first time you meet them, it will just be ... close self. This can be a small, and it can be center top. Seems good. Create sequence. I want to get quicker with these. I feel like I spend too long just tweaking stuff. We're just pumping out these cutscenes, getting them up and running. So then we need to add an interaction to this character. So we'll add another tile. What did we do here? We did talk. We used the interact one here. I actually think that's wrong. We shouldn't be using interact. We should probably just be using the look cutscene, because the interact is going to have Hero reach out with a little animation that we just don't need. So I think this can just be... oh no, look isn't even right. We want immediate cutscene, because oh shoot. We want this to have the screen. Yeah, immediate cutscene will have the screen. Perfect. So we can use this one, just a really simple, just display cutscene, no animations or anything associated with it. So we'll use that as the ability ID for both of these. And then we'll copy this one and bring it down here, save that. And we will add this talk to this room and place it on Adventurer 003. Okay, now we go back down to our cutscenes. We grab the ID here of Greet Adventurer 003. We put that on this interact tile as the trigger name. Yeah, this works. Sorry, just thinking it through. So then we're going to create another cutscene. This one will have the required flag that you've spoken to the injured adventurer. So this cutscene will need to have been triggered. It can be called as completed. Actually, technically speaking, each time you come up here and talk to this adventurer, it would be a new timeline. So I think this actually wants to reset on run. And when it resets on run, it'll be set to not active. But we want Hero to have the secret information inside of this dialogue, regardless of whether or not this cutscene has been completed on this run. So in this situation, I think we want a backend set flag, so we can set a specific flag to completed, and this should never be basically should never be false. So let's go in here. I'm going to add a new flag, which will be of type set. Adventurer 002 spoken to. We're going to set this to be a set flag. It can be not started by default, and it shouldn't need any other information associated with it. Okay, so we're going to file, download that TSV off camera. Flags. Okay, sorry, it took me a moment to find the folder directory. Okay, so we have downloaded that, and then if we come into here and we do IT parse flags and look at the JSON file for the flag design data, we should see a new Adventure 002 spoken to flag, and we can use that as the flag ID on the I4 cutscene, and we can set that to be completed. I'm not sure what's going to happen because this is repeatable, so you will be able to call this multiple times, but I think it's just going to set it to complete, which is the state it's already in, so it should be fine. And then for the cutscene I was just building, we need this flag to be completed, and it has no event associated with it, so it'll always remain completed. This will be of priority. We want to change the priority of this one down to be like really low. Yeah, so that this one will only get used if one of these is not available. So we'll leave this one as a high priority, probably not the highest, so we can probably do something like that. Just some random numbers that are quite large and different so that there's room if we needed to add more cutscenes in between, but unlikely that we really need 300 positions, but it's fine. So then if we've met Adventurer 2, we can do Hero. Part of me feels like I need some sort of like spreadsheet to dialogue asset builder, because I feel like there's a fair amount of time that we're doing this particular setup of copy and pasting the information. So Hero's going to call this Adventurer Dark Flame Master, which is going to hint Adventurer 003 to the fact that you have met their ally and friend, and that Hero is not a bad guy, And then Adventurer 003 is going to give Hero some intel. Oh, this is a long dialogue section. Hero, Adventurer 3, Hero, Adventurer 3 twice? It's a lot of exposition. Yeah, this needs to be brought down. I'm gonna set it up as it's written for now, but as I'm reading this back, I'm like, this is too much dialogue. This needs to be broken up into 2 cutscenes or somehow made to be less information. Okay. Where are we? We're on... Okay, we've got 2 more lines of dialogue. Holy smokes. Yeah, lots of details. Okay, let's say this is fine. Let's ignore the fact that this is way too much. And we'll say medium, bottom center is going to be easiest here. Adventurer 003, medium dialogue, stay open, top center, medium, bottom center. Closed self is fine in this situation. Top center, stay open, medium, into stay open, medium, top center, medium, bottom center, close self, medium, stay open, medium, stay open, top center, and finally medium, close self. Yeah. Top center. Okay, cool. Good enough. That's 9 dialogue pieces. Yeah, that it is. Okay. I will break that one down at some point. Oh, this won't work because it already exists. So it can have the same trigger name, but it can't have the same sequence name. So we can do... We need to find a way to differentiate this. We'll just call it friendly greet. Passcode. Or we could just, like, call this greet 2. That's mildly confusing. Code name. Let's do that. Okay, create. Okay, codename Adventurer 003. That is a lot of dialogue. And then it will have the same trigger name, which means if this flag is set, then it'll use this one. Otherwise, it will use the ... Which means some players may never see the ... dialogue. Okay, and then I'm going to want a setup for Adventurer 002 met, and this one just has that flag that we care about. Which is going to be this one, and this should be completed. Okay, and then if we drag that into the global scene checker as the debug flags for this room, we should be able to load into here and see the second dialogue, and if we disable this one, we should see it go away. Give this a try. Perfect. That played out exactly as written. Cool. And then if I come into this one and I disable it and then run it, I should see just a ... as the cutscene of choice. I think this dialogue for the adventurer not being interested in talking to you could be a little bit more detailed as well. It's funny, I feel like I need less detail from the other one and more detail in this one. Maybe there's some way of balancing them. Okay, so then that's fine. In terms of repeatability, I think I want this one to be repeatable. This one I do not want to be repeatable, but maybe... yeah, I don't think I want this one to repeat. I think that what that means is if you talk to him here and you've got this flag set, it'll play this one time. We want this to reset on run as well. Most of the dialogue we'll have with characters will reset on run because for them, it's like you've never talked to them before. We might want a different... Did I write a different dialogue? I did. There is a repeat version of this if you've already gotten this one. That's funny. Okay, which is basically identical, so it's actually a good idea to build this one now. So this one starts with Hero just saying, here's some information. And then we just have 3 lines of dialogue here, and the only difference one is this adventurer kind of pointing out the weirdness that Hero's saying again, essentially. Top center, stay open. Medium. Okay, cool. And then this one will have a required flag that you have completed this dialogue. So if you've completed this dialogue, you will get this one instead. No, that's not quite right. I want this here. If this is completed, then we get this dialogue, and this one will be repeatable on new runs. So this will be the one if you talk to the adventurer again. Meanwhile, this will have a different dialogue for the first time for Hero. Which is going to be a bit like, if we keep up this trend, it might get a little bit overwhelming because we're going to need basically a dialogue for Hero first greeting people and then a dialogue for Hero repeatedly talking to them. But I think it adds a lot of flavor. Call this check instructions, and it'll work off of the same trigger name as the other ones. Just minimize this and hit create sequence. And this will be 3 different dialogues that all happen just from talking to this character, but depending on the state you're in, they will be a little different. Ah, now here's something interesting. It technically, if you complete this dialogue and then talk to this character immediately, you'll get this dialogue afterwards. Interesting, actually. Do we need some sort of flag for this cutscene was completed on this run? Because this one never resets, so it'll always be true that you've completed this. Okay, the easy approach here is going to be to set up another flag here. So Adventurer 003 is this spoken to as well? But this one has a reset event, which is on start of new run. A little weird, but I think that's the setup. But I'm wondering if this is something we're going to be doing a lot. And if it is, then we might want to have this built directly into our cutscenes as some sort of checkbox of like some sort of flag for this run completed. I could see real value in that type of flag. For right this second, I'm going to just add it as a custom flag. Backend. Set flag. This is now set to completed. And then this one will require that this is not started. And this will get reset on a new run. And so if we talk to the adventurer for the first time, and this is non-repeatable, it will block you from being able to get to this cutscene. But then if you end a run and then come back and talk to this adventurer again, you'll get this cutscene. And this is not repeatable, and it will reset itself on a new run. Okay. Weird edge case here, but I think this might be something we might want to have access to, which is like a this run check for each of these flags. So building its own flag based off this trigger name, but like maybe just adding .this run to the end of it. And if you tick this box, it'll generate that flag, set that flag on complete, but reset it on new runs. And this one will only reset the main flag. It's going to get confusing, but yeah, there is a weird edge case that I think would be consistently required or useful consistently. Okay, I'm going to think on that, but I think there's a world where we might maybe want to add some more automation to the flag generation. What else we got for cutscenes? I feel like I'm actually getting close to the end of my notes. Close. Very close. All right. So now we're going to have another cutscene. This one will be Woods_generic. We didn't end up using this. I'm going to delete this one just so it's not taking up space. And we're going to call this Red Plant, which is the thing that we are being asked to gather. This will be a medium high priority. And then will not be repeatable on new run. Or will not reset on new run, but will be repeatable. Set default trigger. It will require that you have spoken to the adventurer. So that will be this set to complete, and this will never get reset. So once you've had this conversation, it will last forever. It will be one dialogue, which will be hero just saying still need more. That can be small. And arguably bottom center should be fine in almost every situation, but if it's not, we might need to make 2 variations of this. But the idea would be that we would reuse this cutscene every time hero interacts with a plant. You know, I'm thinking about it. This may not be something we can have as a generic, because we're going to want to track each plant that hero interacts with. Let's go to that scene. Actually, let's steal this interaction and then come over here. One too many. So the idea here is that there are these plants that are going to be required as pickups. We're going to need to populate and then drag this into here. Make sure that that is loading correctly. It looks like it is. We were seeing a problem at the end of the last stream where these were not updating correctly. I realized it was because at some point load in progress was remaining true. It does like a load for when it's creating this addressable prefab, and it won't reload it or change it until it's done. And I guess whenever we were like grabbing it and copying it and moving it between scenes, we were copying it while it was mid-load, which is causing the bug. So if I ever see in the future that these are not updating as I change these drop downs, the issue is that I need to go untick one of these boxes inside of the metadata, essentially. Okay, Drixie with the hydrate, appreciate. That was 5 minutes ago. A bit slow on that, but I can do. Okay, so then instead of a sword here, we want this to be the plant. Which plant is this? This is 25 red scrub. So we're going to modify this, and I think we want to use the sword. We're gonna go, what is it, a bush? It is not a bush. Grass? It's not a grass. Scrub? Okay, perfect. I think I said its name, but that's whatever. Oh right, I was debugging before stream to find out why the prop loader wasn't working, but we have solved it, so we can clear that debug. We can clear those, and for now we don't need any animations associated with this. Yeah, you know what? Each of these is gonna need its own cutscene. We're not gonna be able to make a generic one because we want to have flags for whether or not the player has picked up the plant. So we're going to need a different cutscene for each one. There are 3 in this room, so let's at least make that. So this is in I-8, and then we'll just name them Red Plant 1. Set trigger. It still requires you to have the conversation in order to be able to interact with these. It will not be repeatable. Oh, interesting. Okay, sorry. Just, I was trying to think, how are we going to track this? But I have a way. This is actually going to be really cool. So let's say that we create this sequence. It's going to generate it for us along with the folder. We're going to make a new one called Pt.2. We're going to... Yeah, I think this is... We might do maybe a unique dialogue per, but they don't need to be in order. Whatever the dialogue I come up with, they could be played in any order. Yes. So we're going to make a second one here for Pt.2. And then we're going to make a third one for Pt.3. Okay, so those will be our 3 cutscenes. And then inside of the interaction for the red plant, we are going to make it so that it will require this has not been played. So as long as this is not started, you will see this plant. We will give this ID red plant 1 as its entity ID. It will play red plant 1 as the trigger name. Pickup is fine for this. Interact with cutscene, I think, is okay in this situation. We probably want the black bars. We can drag this into here. I think I want -2, -2, which will put it in the center. And then we're just going to make sure to clear the existing plant from this location. Perfect. So now this should be interactable. When we interact, we should get a still need more dialogue. And then we will want to make sure that this has a turn or a set active for entity ID red plant 1, and we will be setting it to inactive, so this prop will disappear, and on reloads of the map it will not spawn this again if this flag is not started, or if it's set to completed, it won't spawn it. It will only spawn it if it's set to not started. Okay, and then we want to copy this logic and basically do the same thing for these 3 other plants. So we'll make another interact. We'll drag this one over to here. I guess we'll clear this first. That way we don't have to worry about trying to grab the 4-9 tile. And then we just need to rename this one like so. Remove prop on interact. We could just use the remove prop on interact, but I don't think we want to do that. Oh, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. This setup's going to work. It's fine. We're moving on. Because this setup was based off of, like, the sword, which we know works. Yeah, this will be fine. Okay, so then the only other thing we need to do is we need to copy this logic into each of these. So this will be also disabling red plant 2. And then this one will be disabling red plant 3. Okay, and then I want to add one more piece to each of these. So I want each of these to also have a cutscene. Is it not a cutscene? Is it a backend? It is a backend post notification. We're going to call this red plant collected. Okay, and we're going to add that to each of these. They're very similar, but because they have different entity IDs that they want to turn off, it means that they do need to be separate. There might be a world in which I want to look into doing some parameterization into a sequence, so I could trigger a sequence with like some sort of parameter, and then it like loops through the steps and tries to find like parameter 0 and replace everything with, you know, squiggly bracket 0 with whatever the parameter is. But that's going to be a bit of a pain to set something like that up at this point, and we probably don't need it. So post notification red plant collected. And realistically, I guess what could have been easier is we could have set up one of these and then copied it rather than generating 3 of them from this dialogue. Yeah, there's ways that I could improve this workflow without having to build an entire parameterization system for our sequences. Okay, so then from here, once we have this set up, we can go back over to our design data here. And we can set up a new metric. And this metric can be red plants collected, and this can be an ID of red plants collected. Honestly, I think they could have the same name. There's no reason they don't have to be. I could do that. It looks like I've started to create a naming convention. I don't know why I've done it that way, but we can do this. I guess we were doing the dot name thing for the way we were building it in scripts. Yeah, okay. Cool. So then that's the red plant. And then if we come over here to our flag design data, we can make a red plant collected. Well, I guess this flag would be all red plants collected, and this can be a metric, and this metric can be complete when we have 3. It needs a metric name, which will be red plant collected. So when this metric gets to 3, this metric flag will be set to complete, and then we can set up a woods generic / all red plants collected cutscene. So we'll grab this. I'm also going to download both of those. So I'm going to download the flags, and I'm going to download the metrics. So download flag TSV, and then download metric TSV. Okay, and then we're going to need to parse both of those in. So parsers, parse the flags. No errors, good. Parse the metrics. No errors, good. We're going to trust that up because I don't really want to go waste time looking at the JSON to validate that everything's good. Should just be fine. We're going to make another cutscene in here. We're going to go woods underscore generic underscore all red plants collected. And this will be priority 999. It will not be repeatable. It will not reset. It should not require any flags because this will only get triggered once you've collected everything. And then what is the dialogue we have for this? So this is essentially the moment you've collected all 3. It should trigger this cutscene, and ideally it should... Oh shoot. Sorry, I just realized something. This is going to trigger the still need more, then post the notification. And then after this is finished resolving, it's going to trigger this cutscene. So that's not going to make a ton of sense because we're going to have this be the "you're done" dialogue. which isn't going to make any sense if that should be enough. Directly after your hero says still need more. Interesting. We can do this as bottom center. Close self, medium, that all seems fine. This will need a end of turn ability response. I wonder... The other way we could do this is we could have no dialogue associated with picking up the plant. Oh, this is tedium. Okay. So what we could do is we could have no dialogue associated with picking up the plant, but we could disable the correct plant. But then we could have a series of plant collected flags that check the metric, and based off the number collected, hero has a specific dialogue. That way we can ensure that the dialogue is in the correct order. Interesting. Okay, I think that might be what I want to do, but let's just get this working first. This looks fine. Everything's here is good. We're just going to create this. And realistically, if I've done everything correctly, if we load into this map, we will need a flag preset. We'll name this one Adventurer 003 Met, and all of these interacts are going to require oh, they're not. That's smart. Okay. So the way this is going to work is, even though the interact doesn't have a required flag on it itself, the trigger that they're trying to fire, which is going to reach these, does require this flag. So we don't need a flag on the pickup itself because the cutscene has a required flag. In fact, what's nice about this is we could have other generic red plant triggers for dialogue that is just like, huh, weird plant or something like that before you have the dialogue, or before you have... Yeah, there's... Okay. I like this setup, but my point is that we're going to need... No, I lost the plot. What am I... Okay. We're going to trigger this. We're going to have this fire. Oh, got it. Right. What we were doing was we were trying to find this value because we want to set it to be complete inside of our debugs. Perfect. Yes, that looks right. And then we just need to make sure that we actually drag this in to our global scene checker so that we have these starting flags when we enter this room. So we should be able to interact with each of these plants. Each one should give a different... Not working. Okay, well, I did save, I'm pretty sure. It has no required flags here. It is spawning because this has not been started. This... Oh, it's not set to enabled. Got it. Easy. Unlockable characters with the hydrate. Appreciate. I'll do that while I'm running back. Okay, so we should be able to come over here now because the flags are set. This has the pickup. Okay, probably want to swap the turn off, but it did turn off the correct plant, so that's good. Then we pick up this one. Still need more. Good. That's great. And then last one, we should get still need more followed by a that's enough. Should open, close. Ah, timing wise, I have to move one more time in order for it to work. I suppose that makes sense. Interesting. That means that yeah, there's a question of how this interact works. Because if this interact data is queuing the interaction to happen at end of turn, then when we queue up the next one, I guess we don't check the end of turn stuff again. Yeah, there's a weird timing issue, I think. Where do we actually pass this information along? Because it gets put into something. Core tile data. We clone this into a core tile interactable data, and this gets used inside of the tile in order to create a interactable ability. And that interactability right now only one can exist per tile, which may become a problem in the long term. And then we have a get interactable, which the unit, when it moves onto a tile checks forward to see if it has an interaction there. If it does, it updates its abilities and has that ability be added to itself. Interesting. And that means when I hit right trigger, it's essentially triggering that ability the same way we would do slash or bash, whatever it might be. So then if I go take a look at the combined turn, got it. I know what the problem is. It's this piece of code down here that I keep turning on and off. This is not waiting for the cutscenes to finish loading. And I turned this off because we were having some animation popping and I wanted to see if I could get rid of it, but it wasn't. And anyways, it's fine. I keep turning that part off because I keep thinking it's causing problems, and it's not. At least I've not been able to 100% confirm it's not causing problems. But essentially, when we queue up the triggered cutscene, we need to make sure we wait until the end of the turn, or wait until that cutscene is finished loading before we end the turn efficiently. Otherwise, we may not catch it when we're supposed to. Okay, so now with that extra special wait there, it should trigger it immediately without us having to go one turn. Okay, cool. So that's working. We managed to get all the dialogues, and it worked back to back. So I think I'd like to see about making it so these don't actually have any dialogue associated with them, which makes this a little easier because we can get rid of each dialogue asset for these. But instead, we'll have a generic that's tracking a specific flag. Let's do the flag setup first. I think that's going to make this make more sense. So if we come into here and we look at all red plants collected, if instead we do one red plant collected as a flag name, we make it a metric. We make it work off the same metric value, but we just change it to 1. And then we just make a new cutscene trigger, which is 1 red plant collected. That should be all we have to do. And then, mostly for my own sanity, I'm going to move this up. And we should be able to just copy and insert below. And then just rename this to 2. Make these values 2. And then just make another trigger like so. Download that, parse it, So let's see, download, save over the old one. In here, we do parser flags. We don't need to modify the metric at all because it already exists and does what it's supposed to. And then we just need to come in here and do one set trigger. Is that right? I'm just going to double check the naming. Yes, that looks right. And then this dialog can become still need more. This can be a small, bottom center is fine. Yeah, that all looks good. Sure. And then we can make this 2 and 2. Create another one. Can be the same information. And then these ones don't need any dialogue, so we can delete this, we can delete this, and we can delete this. And then we don't need any dialogue steps here at all. So it'll turn it off and then post a notification. Once this ability ends, then it will uptick the metric for collecting these plants. And then if that metric has reached one of the thresholds, which right now there's a dialogue for every one, it will play that dialogue, and when you've collected all of them, it will play the final one. Let's give that a try. I'm like thinking if I need to hit update JSON on any of these cutscenes, but I think it was all set up correctly, so this should just work. Interact, turns off. Oh, that makes sense actually. So there's the black bar cutscenes that are happening. We want to do interact cutscene, but we don't want to do with screen. So we're just going to use the simpler ability. Because we're not doing any dialogue, we're just going to turn the object off, which can be done without bringing in the black bars. So far, I think we've mostly tried to make it so black bars come in for most dialogues. Actually, there are some situations where we don't show the black bars for some of the dialogues, actually. So bottom center isn't going to work there. Bottom center works on this one. I think right of center might be the easiest one to... Oh. If we were standing over here... This one won't work right of center. Okay, I think I really would need to test every variation. But I think top of center might be the best option here for all of these. Because I think no matter where we're having these dialogues, there shouldn't be anything we're covering when we have the dialogue appear above hero in this particular room. There is a question of if this is going to work in all situations, because I probably want to spread out some of these plants elsewhere. Okay. That looked okay. I think I'm all right with that. Now what? I guess now we want to work on... I want to work on 2 more cutscenes. I'm just realizing we're going to need some more functionality here eventually, I think. Just for the amount of different states we're tracking between runs. But let's build it, and it'll better help me break down what we need in the future. So if we do woods K8, and then we'll just call this quest complete. This will be an interaction. I think this is still trigger name. I just realized all of these should be great. Yeah, okay, this one got set up with the wrong data. How is this working? Oh, that's a little weird. Did we see this one in action? We didn't actually. I didn't test this one. Yeah, that one wouldn't have worked because the interaction is actually this trigger name, and it needs to be consistent across any time we talk with this adventurer. If anything, this trigger name should actually be like Talk Adventurer 003. I'm going to make that change. Yeah. Just so it's not even related to any of these other names. So anytime we talk to the Adventurer 003 in this woods area, this will be the trigger name that matters. And we'll need to update the actual interactable to use that trigger name as well. Cool. Update JSON, and update JSON. We'll do it that way. It's faster than parsing all the cutscenes, I think. All right, what do we need here? We need 3 entries for this first one. We're going to have hero, and then adventurer 003 twice. This can be top center and top center. Stay open, close self. This can be medium, bottom center. And we're going to get... I have the plants. Thank you. Please take this. All right. Medium and medium should be good enough. In terms of priority order, this was 899, 898 for lower priority. This one's technically a higher priority, so we're going to go 900. Now, what flags are required for this to happen? I think it's mostly just... all red plants collected is completed. And that doesn't have a reset, so that'll always be true between runs as well. This is non-repeatable and does not reset on runs. This all seems good. And then... we need some other flag, because there's 2 different versions of this cutscene, essentially. There's this version, which is essentially we've talked to Adventurer 03 before, and then we need another version where we haven't talked to this adventurer. I think I'm going to need to set this flag to be true here as well. So if you've talked to the adventurer on this run and found the 5 plants, or you've checked for instructions, either one of these should say that you have completed or you have talked to the adventurer this run. And if that's completed, you'll get this version of the dialogue. And then if this one is not set, you'll get the other one. Okay, so this one I think I also want to be higher priority. So we're going to create this one, create sequence. And then this one will be not started. So if you have not spoken to the adventurer on this run, you'll get this dialogue instead. This line is the same, but now we get a different line from the adventurer here, which is a "Who are you?" And then this one becomes a explanation from hero. And I want this one to be a medium closed self. This can be a small closed self. And then medium stay open. Medium closed self. Cool. Everything else remains the same. This one will be a lower priority. So ideally, that helps make sure that you get the other one, although they have opposite flags, so they should be the same priority, and it wouldn't, or they could be the same priority and it wouldn't matter, but I'm still going to do it this way. This needs to be complete quest, meet, and complete quest. Sure. And these all just operate off the same talk, and it's just different flags that determine which kind of dialogue you get. This might be the biggest stress test we've had for our cutscene system. You know what's really funny, actually? We can test this really quickly by simply grabbing this interactable and pasting 3 of them in this room. This should work in theory, so if we just have 3 of this interactable down here, there's no reason this should be any different from interacting with them in the other scene. We do have the debug flags turned on for this one, so they will give us the information. Right, this is the super long dialogue, lots of exposition. And then we get a ... if we try talking in the future. Oh, I can't just copy and paste them though, because they do have different information. So they do need to be 1, 2, and 3. And then this is just testing purposes. I don't think... Oh, it does matter. So if this is red plant 1, this needs to be this and this. This will need to be red plant 2 and red plant 3. Maybe it doesn't fully matter, because technically it doesn't really matter, or technically it's not a huge deal if we're not turning off all the plants for this test. It's really just making sure that we trigger 3 different cutscenes. I should have also tested trying to pick up these plants without having talked. And I also want to double check to make sure that we can see this multiple times. We can. So if I pick up this one, it should turn off the middle one. Still need more. Still need more. And that's enough. Now as soon as we turn around and we get the correct one for having met this adventurer. Now, if we were to, for the sake of testing, change this to not started as a part of this cutscene, just to kind of see the other one, we should be able to do set flag not started, which will set it back to the base. It'll let us see the other cutscene. I also want to check the plants and make sure they're not interactable. Oh, I said it and just didn't do it. Okay, that's fine. We'll do it one more time after this. Yeah, and now we're getting the who are you. The dialogue from Hero on that was not anchored correctly. Meet and complete. This one should be bottom center. Cool. Also, for this initial greet, I think I want quest complete to not be started and meet and quest complete not started, so that after you talk with this adventurer and they tell you you're done, you're not getting the silent treatment from them anymore. Somewhat small thing, but yeah, and we can't interact with any of these plants before talking. Okay, yeah, I think this is all working. I'll go through it one more time just to validate that last change oh, it's not gonna work. We didn't hit update JSON. Oh no, did I end up writing a thing? No, I didn't end up writing an autosaver for this because it ended up being too much of a pain, which is why we added this button. Because it was just like, yeah, it'd be nice if it auto-saved, but the amount of times it checks to see if the file has been edited is just, it's continuous, and there isn't a great way that I could see for telling if the file has actually been modified without doing a full value check on everything. Interesting. The instructions was replayable. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, this also, like the greet, should have... Because this is not repeatable, but it resets on each run. So if you were to complete this quest, end up running out of time, and then come back and speak to Adventurer 003 here, we would end up in a situation where Hero's asking about what to do while you've already completed the goal. Now, maybe it would make sense for there to be another piece of dialogue here for if you've completed the quest and not spoken to the adventurer on this run. But I think if you just walk up here and you get no response from them, it's not going to be super weird because Hero has completed the goal. Hero knows, and by extension the player knows, there isn't much else to do here. We need to take the item back up to I4. Okay. Yeah, so I like this setup. So this won't replay. This is impossible to replay because this only ever happens once, and you need to have done this adventurer. you need to do this cutscene in order to be able to even interact with the flowers. And then this one is just made sure we don't get this. Maybe it's fine to leave this one accessible then, so that if you talk, you get the ... which is the silent treatment and a little weird, but maybe that's better than just no interaction at all. It's just like, you gotta go do the things. You know what you need to do. Yeah, I'm gonna turn this one off. Worst case, we always fall back to this as a repeatable, so that there's always something you can do when you interact, but it's just like a nothing dialogue essentially. But it's better than just not being interactable. That feels almost broken in some regards. Cool. So these plants have been used for their testing purposes, and they worked great. And I think we've tested every cutscene combination basically, and they're all working. Be great to test them in actual setups and making sure that the starting the new run resetting is working properly, but I can do that over the course of a full playthrough in the future. I think this is good enough to say that it is functional. What else do we got? So this is the end. Interesting. I have a goddess cutscene for after this as well. Sorry, Goddess Realm is the name of the zone. This is a Chapter 1 cutscene. This can be called Healing Tonic. Okay, metadata. Ooh, what is the priority here? I think this is a higher priority one, because this is pretty fundamental. Yeah, we're going to go with 995 as one of the highest priorities. Technically, most of these other ones should be impossible to not see before getting to this point in Chapter 1, but still we'll go with 995. And this will be a Goddess Realm trigger. It will be an intro type, so when you load into this area, it will need to have either this one or this one completed, but I don't think our required flags work that way. I think if I add 2 required flags, both of these will need to be true. There's 2 ways to do this. We either make it so that this can set a new flag that we set up. That can be like quest complete. Or we just make it so each of these cutscenes set themselves and the other cutscene to complete. I don't know what's better. I guess the third option is maybe there's a world in which we want to have a custom flag override for cutscene data. Like maybe there's something in here where we might want to have a field to say, like, instead of using the trigger name by default, which I believe is what it's doing, as the flag name to generate, I can give you a custom one instead. And so this could just be like quest complete, and these both could use that custom flag name. Yeah, I'm definitely seeing, as we stress test this, I'm seeing a couple of different scenarios where, like, again, the adventurer spoken to this run, this feels like another piece of information that could be built into here rather than hand building it. And same thing here, I feel like having 2 quests that are essentially the same cutscene but slightly different dialogue depending on whether or not you've interacted with this character this run. It feels like there's an extra piece of functionality here that would be nice, which is a custom cutscene flag override of some kind, so that multiple cutscenes can share the same flag essentially. Okay. I might refactor this based off of that feedback, but that might be a job for tomorrow, or even honestly after chapter 1, because this is functional. It required setting up some extra pieces, but like an extra flag, and then here we're having to do a little bit of weirdness setting the other cutscenes generated flag to complete, but this is working and would probably be shippable, to be perfectly honest. Okay, so I'm happy with this. Now in here, this will both be set to completed, because we know that each of these is setting the other to complete as well as itself. So this is fine to have both of these be required. So if we enter into here, we want 5 dialogues. Yep. And we're going to go, oh no, 4 dialogues. And we're going to go hero, goddess, hero, goddess. So hero, bottom center. Basically, hero is lamenting that if we time out, we are going to have to go find all of those red plants again. But what hero doesn't realize is that I never finished writing this dialogue. This is literally the end of my notes. Okay. Wow, just really copy and pasting all over the place wrong. So I think this actually needs one more hero dialogue. Okay, so this will be close all. And we'll just do placeholder, which that might even just be it, but that's fine. So medium, close all, bottom center. All the hero dialogues should be bottom center, and they are. Medium, and I'm going to just go with stay open for all of these because it's just easier. This one can be closed self. Top center, top center. Oh, my brain is fried. Bottom center, bottom center, bottom center, stay open, close self, stay open, stay open, close all. All right. I think that's right. And then I'm just going to double check to make sure this is all set up as well. And it is. Create that. And now that cutscene should trigger whenever we go back to the Goddess Realm. And we have completed the quest. Yeah, there's some weirdness with this setup, but like I feel like this is designed to happen after you've completed the whole quest, but there is a confusion to the player that they might need to go regather the plants they've already gotten. So really this should happen after you've collected even one plant. And the text should be a little different too. Yeah, I think this might want to be after you've collected one plant, actually. And then instead of this dialogue being about the healing tonic, Actually, I think this was written around... Yeah, no, this is the way I originally wrote it. That's fine. Okay, so yeah, I just want to change this to be based off of once you've collected one plant, you go back to the Goddess Realm, you get this little dialogue to let you know, no, you don't got to recollect those plants because they're in your item box. And items in your item box persist between time loops, essentially. Cool. I think that is all of the content I have written down. We have made every cutscene. The next steps are going to be I need to write more dialogues because we're going to have you come back here, hand over the healing tonic, revive this adventurer, and then Adventurer 002 is going to give you their shield to defend yourself. Now that the disaster has been averted with this adventurer. I mean, realistically, is there a narrative reason why we don't give you the shield when you first talk to this adventurer? Because we could give you the wand or the staff in the southern section and the shield in the northern section and give those to you immediately. I guess the main problem would be the player gets the shield here, and before completing this quest, they go here and try and defeat the boar. And I kind of want to lock this defeating of the boar until after you've done this whole section. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, that's the reason we don't want this yet. Okay. The other thing I might want to do is scatter more of these red plants throughout the world. I don't think I want just 3. I like the idea of there being 3 here, but I maybe want to put 1 up here so that when you're doing a run... Yeah, when you're doing a run, you'll... I think I want to build it in such a way that you have to see this healing tonic dialogue, because I want to kind of teach the player about the item box and the fact that items persist between kind of time loops. And so I think I want to make it impossible to get all the red plants in one run. In fact, I might want to put some of the red plants in the first checkpoint section, like growing here or something, so that you even have to do a run. You have to do a run through here, collect some plants. You have to gotta go down here, collect some plants, and you've got to go up here and collect some plants. And once you've done like essentially 3 runs worth of plant collecting, then you can finally come down here, get the healing tonic, at which point you can try and make your way back up to I4. But even if you do, like, you collect all the other plants and then do a run down to I8 and then K8, you may not have enough time to work your way all the way back up north. So you might need to just end the run, checkpoint to I6, and then walk up here. Yeah, I'm going to have to give some thought on the timing. But yeah, we're close. We're close. Because once we do this section and we get the shield, then we'll be able to come back here, pick up defeat the boar, and save Adventurer 001. And then we'll be on track to do the final route. Yeah, because I think we're close to being 2/3 of the way through Chapter 1. Because we saved this adventurer, and then there's kind of another route we end up taking that we haven't really seen much yet, that leads you up to saving this adventurer again, but in a slightly different way. And then I think Adventurer 02 will go grab Adventurer 3, and then we will head off to the final location in E5, which will end Chapter 1. All right, we might be within... It might be within sight. I think I'm going to call it here. We're about half an hour early on ending the stream, but like I said at the very beginning, I'm a bit tired, and I think we got a lot done. I'm pretty happy with that. We're coming into next week. We've got 2 more weeks that I have off work. 2 more weeks of vacation to try and get this chapter 1 done. My hope is that we can honestly finish up everything else I was just going over and get to the end of chapter 1 in this week. Like, I do want to potentially have a boss fight in this area here. But if we can even get to this point and like there's no boss fight, but there's like a game over with like maybe an NPC that represents that boss fight, kind of one final cutscene right before the fight would start, I would still consider that a success, because the boss fight's going to require potentially making some unique mechanics to try and, you know, make it a more difficult, mechanically interesting fight. But even if we can just get to the point where you've finished the whole run, you've saved the whole adventuring party in the forest, and you get to that final room, I think that's probably a good, that would basically be chapter 1 done. And then for week 4, we'll still have another week. So if I can get to that point by the end of this week, then week 4 could be looking at refining combat, maybe go back, polish up some of these cutscenes, just try and like put a bow on a lot of stuff. Like even I have all these tasks here that have not been really completable as like one thing, because all of this is mostly like create remaining cutscenes has basically been the last 2 weeks of work. But yeah, but the other, so week 4 will probably be tidy, polish, and also I want to spend some time off camera figuring out how to actually get the build up on Steam so that we can do some private codes to kind of let other people try the game and make sure that it's actually functional. I mean, that's a big part of this. So I think week 3, we try and get as much of this done so that you can play all the way through to the final room. And then week 4, I'm going to dedicate fully to getting a Steam demo done. And if uploading the build to Steam ends up taking me like a day off camera, then we'll spend the rest of that week polishing, basically. All right, seems like a plan. We'll be back tomorrow from 2 to 4. And then maybe 6 to 8. I've been thinking about it. I might want to just be consistently 2 to 4 all this week. I don't know. We'll see where we're at tomorrow, but there's a good chance I want to not do 2 streams tomorrow. Well, we'll see how I feel tomorrow. For now, though, this is going to be Tolhi signing out. Later, folks.